too late now. We're okay. Welcome everybody to the special board meeting of Wednesday, December 5th at 11 a.m. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In honor of President Bush's recent passing, we're going to take a moment of silence. Thank you. Rebecca, will you take roll, please?
Director Davidson?
Here.
Director Thomas?
I'm here.
Director Underhill?
Here.
President Reinerman?
Here.
And Director Strange is absent. We're right about 11:30.
Yeah, we just heard from him.
En route.
He's en route to be here about 11:30. Consent agenda or public comment. Let's do public comment first. At this time, members of the public may address the board on any non-agendized item. The public is encouraged to work through staff to place items on the agenda for board consideration. No action can be taken on these matters not listed on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per meeting. We do have public comment.
Your first time?
Don't touch the equipment.
Hey, we need to have a sign made now.
Yeah, you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah, it's, there you go. Touch it, little bugger.
Supervisor Mills, welcome.
Yeah, and Merry Christmas to everybody. I wanted to let you know that I have been engaged in a series of meetings with representatives from Aqua, representatives from Mountain Counties Water Association, representatives of the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, and the U.S. Forest Service, asking that the forest industry and the water industries in California no longer be a victim to the mandates of the state legislative bureaucracy that is telling us how we can best do our job, and we know full well how to do our job. And so they are beginning to craft legislation which will come forward in the next session in the state to, in essence, decide their own policies of how they want things to happen. And I've had conversations also with SPI over that very same thing. How would you like things to change? How would you like things to work to be more effective and efficient? Metropolitan's starting to understand their role in the watersheds and the forest health here in our part of the world and wanting to be engaged in that. And they're willing to put financial resources towards that end as well. So I want that conversation to continue, and I have talked to Dave Edgerton about it so that we can get everybody who is engaged in the watershed and forest health to all be on the same page as we move forward to a more stable and resiliency in our droughts here in California. So I just wanted you to be aware of those conversations that are going on.
Just a quick note, Dennis. I just want to make it clear. I appreciate your efforts, but in the past there was a letter sent that I think you sent a letter to the president on behalf of all the water districts in the county and or something to that effect. And while we certainly want to join you in your efforts, because we are also doing a similar thing, lobbying with the federal government and everybody that's involved. But please, if you want to make a statement about our point of view, at least share it with us before you go to those agencies. I really appreciate that.
I appreciate your concern. My point there is to be sure that the federal water project water is reevaluated in terms of what its relationship is with the state projects, and that the federal government for too long, and Maloney's in specifics, and the Stanislaus River have a role to play in the overall result.
Yeah, I think we all agree with that. We just we actually have a mechanism with monthly board meetings between each agency where we can actually get a formal decision or a formal recommendation from this board, and then also from the Board of Supervisors. And then I have no problem with supervisors speaking after they've spoken to us and make sure that we're all on the same page. I know we are, but it's just a procedural thing that I would appreciate.
Hopefully next year I'll be involved in the 2x2s.
All right, great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Any other public comment? Seeing none, going to move on to the consent agenda. Following items are expected to be routine, non-controversial. Items will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member may request that any item be removed for later discussion. You just have 3A, review our director's monthly timesheets for November.
I move for acceptance.
Second?
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Rebecca, can you take roll, please?
Director Davidson?
Yes.
Director Thomas?
Yes.
Director Underhill?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes. It passes 4-0. Item 4A, under new business, discussion action regarding adoption of the Customer Assistance Program. Joel Metzger, Manager of External Affairs, Conservation, and Grants. And we've seen this item several times before us and have made numerous changes, revisions, updates to it. And so, and we've also had a chance to look at this item in our packet for the last few days. I don't think there's going to be any surprises or anything new here.
Mr. President, would it be appropriate to just have Joel make his presentation upon Terry's arrival? Can we, so he may want to make some comments on it.
Yeah, that.
We could go into closed session. We can do the
Okay.
closed session.
Okay, no, that's a good idea. Definitely, we're going to hold 4B as a part of this and should be done in conjunction or shortly thereafter. 4C is, it definitely is gonna, or should require the presence of Director Strange. So yeah, let's switch the agenda up a little bit. Joel, are you okay with that? Are you going to be around? Okay. So we're gonna take our closed session item and stick it in here in front of new business, and then we'll conduct all new business 4A, 4B, 4C when we return. So we'll go into closed session at this time.
Read the closed session and ask for public comment.
Closed session. Glad you're here. Closed session 7A, potential litigation, Government Code Section 54956.9 D24. Got one case. Any public comment on this item? Okay, check, and we're going to go into closed session. Any more suggestions from the board before we do?
I'm not to run
What
the
else am
meeting.
I doing? Am I doing anything else
Can we
wrong?
take the tape with us? And then
Okay, we're back from closed session, back in session. Nothing to report from our closed session item today. We're going to move back to new business, 4A, discussion action regarding adoption of the Customer Assistance Program. Joel Metzger, Manager of External Affairs, Conservation, and Grants, please take it away.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the board. I do know that we all have not heard all this information. I don't think Director Davidson has heard all of this, but I do have a brief presentation that gives just the highlights, about 8 slides that will give an overview and make sure we're all on the same page. But I did want to let the board know that if any of you, including Director Davidson, would like any additional detail or recaps of past conversations, I'm happy to provide that today. So just to begin with a reminder of why we're here. In the lead up to the rate increase in May this year, we did a lot of community meetings and we heard that some folks were struggling to pay their bills. So the board took that and directed staff to develop policy for a customer assistance program prior to the end of this year, which we have done. It was a community-driven process and a board-driven process. Lots of feedback was taken from all sides, and we have revised this policy numerous times over the past couple of months in order to provide you with the product that you have today. I did want to touch on the policy highlights to make sure that we all have an understanding of what the policy is in today's form. And then following this, there are a couple key policy questions I'd like the board to give some input and direction on to make sure that we're getting this right. So we'll go through the policy now. The board had requested the policy the program launch on the 1st of January. One request that we do have for the board is to move that launch date to the 2nd versus the 1st, because the 1st is a holiday. And when people have the information, we want them to be able to read about the launch date and then bring an application in immediately. So if the board would consider moving that from the 1st to the 2nd today, we'd appreciate that. That's our recommendation. And then we are starting this mid-fiscal year. Per the policy, moving forward, this program would run on the standard fiscal year and be considered during the budget process. Additionally, per board direction, this program will offer credits to 200 water customers and 200 wastewater customers. It would be $20 for each water customer per water bill and $30 for wastewater customers. And you could apply for both and get a $50 credit per bill. The credits would be issued on a first-come, first-served basis, which means that if we get the application, we'll date stamp that, and you'll have your place in line. As long as everything's in order, you'll have your place until we reach the end of the 200 and 200, and then there would be some sort of a wait list developed at that time. And the program would be funded per board direction using non-rate revenue. For the first half of this year, we would ask the board to approve a $30,000 budget adjustment. And for standard years, it would be a $60,000 budget item in order to fully fund the program. And I should note that because we are in the middle of the year, this is not currently part of the budget, and so we would need to use one-time funds from the special project fund in order to get us through the remainder of this fiscal year. Additionally, the board decided on a 200% of the federal poverty level for the eligibility requirement, and we decided to use the PG&E CARE program as the main qualifier. That program vets people and ensures that they are at 200% or below of the federal poverty guideline. And so as long as they provide that to us along with an eligible application, then they would be able to be added to the program. If someone cannot provide us with a PG&E CARE program proof of participation, the Resource Connection is partnering with us to verify incomes, and they would provide the income verification to us, and we would use that to either add someone or deny someone from the program. Additionally, for tenants, because many of these folks who would be on this program may be tenants, we're going to require a copy of the rental application between the landlord and the tenant, showing that yes, they do live there and they have an agreement. If that's not available, there will be a permission form that the owner of the property could sign saying, I am okay with the tenant applying for and receiving this credit at this property. Because again, just to remind the board, we only treat property owners as customers, not tenants, and so we need to make sure we respect the property owner's rights during any process with the building. And if someone provides us with false information or is deceitful and we become aware of that, then we will ban them from the program. They will not be able to ever reapply or be part of this program. And then yes?
So one question then, it doesn't appear to me as though if someone is dishonest that we go potentially back after certain monies. And the reason I say that is because I would be very concerned that if our policy is such that the landowner or the homeowner might be responsible for those monies in arrear, so to speak, or penalty funds, I would not, I would not support something like that. So again, that's my question, is that the homeowner would not be responsible for any monetary issues that might come of it.
In the final version of the policy, we do say that if it comes to our attention that someone's been dishonest or trying to commit fraud, we would potentially, we use the word may, seek to recover those funds that were fraudulently obtained, those credits. However, using the word may means it's up to the discretion of staff. And Director Strange, if it were, the deceit was on the part of the tenant and not the landlord, we would be able to identify that and not unfairly go after someone who had nothing to do with the fraud. But again, we're using the word may, and we're leaving it up to the discretion of staff at that point.
Okay, but as a landowner or homeowner, I'd be reluctant to sign or approve anything that might come back and, because you're right, the word may doesn't mean you won't.
Right, and
So-
yeah, that is something that we could, if the board would like to give the direction. Supporting this policy will be detailed procedures of how we handle all the day-to-day things that this may cause us to come across. We could make it very clear in the procedure how we would handle that and make sure we protect the landlords and the homeowners, property owners.
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay,
The practicality of us spending any staff time to go after $20 doesn't make a lot of sense.
But it could very easily be $50 a month for 8 months that we'd be going after.
This isn't just a 1 month per,
You know, if the district would bill them in arrears for all the benefits that they received under the program if they had signed up fraudulent.
so are they allowed to apply for this every month, or is it,
It'd be
They receive the benefit, though,
For how long?
for every billing period,
continuously
1 year.
until we get rid of the policy. And so the waiting list will be for these initial 200 people are gonna sign up for it, and then there's no more money available. But they will roll over, the new year comes, the same people will roll over with the same benefit into 2020.
If they
we
apply.
don't reopen up the applications? I mean, it would seem to me that
No,
that's,
that was
you know, that's
part
a-
of our,
Yes, it is.
creating a completely separate class, even of the disadvantage.
They have to reapply.
I guess
So-
I'm asking the question. I mean, so this is a continuous thing until the money runs out. So if fully funded, there's 200 people that could get a $20 discount every month?
yes,
then-
200 for water, 200 for sewer, 400 total.
Okay, and then, at the end of the year, they don't have to reapply?
So the way we have it designed right now is for the first 18 months of the program, which is January all the way through June or April of 2020, once you're applied and you're on the program, we're not going to make you reapply. But for every year thereafter, everyone's off the program unless they come in between April and May and they reapply and they are verified to meet eligibility requirements, then they can continue on the program. However, on this slide, we are asking to be absolutely clear from this board on what the board wants to do, because during the last meeting, the Finance Committee, we got some opinions on both sides. One faction said, we'd like to see those who are on the program be able to keep their spot as long as they're still eligible, so they can count on that year after year. Other people said, we would like to take everyone off the program, and then once it comes time to reapply, it goes back to first come, first serve, and you're not guaranteed anything. So we could have a completely different population of people on that program. And so the way we have it written now was the direction we got from finance, which is once you have your spot, as long as you do your due diligence, you stay on the program, you could be on the program in perpetuity. But we do want the board to consider this policy question and give us clear direction today on which way you want to go.
My thing would be that we would, at the very least, make them reapply. If they don't reapply, then, you know, I mean, it's not a lot to ask. But, you know, because we won't even know, you know, we may not know if the tenant changes. I mean, if they don't have to reapply, I assume we'll still be billing, you know, the same address at a lower rate, and that may not be, they may not be in need of the program.
Right, and so the way that the policy is written right now, you have to reapply every year. If you don't, you are kicked off the program. So we're getting a once-a-year checkup on eligibility. We're looking at the PG&E care proof of validation again, and we're also making sure that, yes, there's still a tenant-owner permission agreement, so on and so forth. However, you have a good point. If we have a mid-year change of tenant, and the new tenant that comes in no longer meets those requirements, it would be hard for us to know whether that change happened, because the only way we're going to for sure change that account is if the home sells, we delete the account, this stops, the whole account is deleted, a new account's created, then we start fresh. And so that's something we're gonna be having to keep an eye on with tenants, is that we need to count on the owner and the tenant hopefully to, you know, show us the good faith of telling us what their financial situation is and whether they've had a change.
What if a tenant changes at the address, moves
the-
next door?
If they change an address?
Yeah.
We most likely would not know about a tenant moving out unless the owner or the tenant tells us, because we're only treating the owner
Okay,
as
but
the
in that scenario, somebody that's on the program moves, which happens a lot, are they gonna be eligible at their new residence automatically?
they would have to reapply for the new residence.
Okay, so if they change residence, then they're off the list. And you say it's first come, first serve, it's not
It's
like a
first come, first
lottery or,
serve. Yeah, first come, first served for the initial sign up. However, the way it's written now is, once we go through the first year and a half of the program, so we're at May 2020, if you don't reapply, you're off the program. But if you do have to reapply to continue with the program, your spot is preserved for you though.
Okay, after the first 18 months, or after the, say, when it comes May of 2020 is what we're talking about.
Yeah,
There's gonna be a waiting list. Let's assume there's a waiting list, and since some of the people don't reapply. They forget, they know they don't make it anymore, they don't wanna get, they got a job, for example, and they can't reapply, or they don't reapply. The people that are on the waiting list would only be eligible, would only come into the program if people dropped off.
Correct.
If all 400 people that signed up in the first 3 months of 2019, if every single one of them still applied in 2020, then the same people would still be there, and no one would move off the waiting list into the program as long as everybody submitted a new application.
that's correct.
That's where we have it set up right now.
Yeah, I
And
think,
that's kind of what we're talking about with these questions.
I think a priority for enrollment after that initial 18 months, as long as everything stays the same. They qualify financially, they're at the same place, you know, those kind of things. I think that makes a lot of sense, that they're on kind of a.
Let me just say one thing, and then Russ wants to say, and I'm thinking that's probably, and Joel, you pointed this out, that once people have 18 months under their belt of paying that bill, and then if we kick them all off and make them all reapply again and they don't get it, they're back on that. And some of these people, the ones with the worst hardship, are on this program, and they got a sewer and a water bill, and so there's this $50 they're getting a $50 break every single month. We'd want to continue that, and then at that point in time, and after 18 months, we'll look at how many people are on that waiting list, and maybe that's when we revise the program to include 425 people instead of just 400.
or 400 new people.
Or 400 new people if the waiting list has 400 people sitting on it. Right. We don't know, and that's in a brand-new program, we don't know, and Bertha and I are gonna have to talk about this, about how quickly this program's gonna fill up. She's thinking it's gonna fill up within a month, and I'm thinking it's gonna take a little bit longer than that to get these 400 applicants in here.
Well, based on Joel's outreach and publicity, I know it's gonna be fast.
And she's gonna be losing $5.
There are a lot of folks out there
Oh,
that are
yes,
in
oh,
hardship.
absolutely,
There are a lot of
absolutely.
people.
Russ?
Joel, you've started off by saying that this is gonna be an 18-month duration to start off with, but why? I mean, why can't it just be a 6-month, and then is it saving time for the folks across the street, or what?
Our thinking was that we may not see this program fill up for the first 4 or 5 months, and we'll see who wins the bet over here on that one. But let's say that it doesn't. I wouldn't want someone to apply for the program and be approved and then be kicked off and have to reapply within a month or two. We feel like that may be a little bit unreasonable. So because we're still going to be learning about how the program needs to work, and we may come back to the board for changes and modifications potentially, we would like to get the program fully filled and then move through the full year and a half before we make everyone reapply for those reasons.
It would also save staff time tremendously.
There will be some staff time, and I did want to tell the board that our IT administrator has figured out a way to add folks to the program and then have this credit applied automatically, so we won't have to manually touch them each and every billing period. And so then we can set it to where at the 18-month period, we will then take everyone off and only re-add them if they apply, or get a list of those who will be deleted and then add the folks first come, first served from the wait list. And we're certain there will be a wait list at that point as well.
Okay, one other question. Will there be a check the box type of a thing that the people will sign at the bottom? And will there be a spot there where they will acknowledge that this is a It's, I would call it a welfare program, but it is an assistance program that if their circumstances change, they have an obligation to alert either the Resource Connection or the district, so that somebody who is more, if they suddenly get a better job, if they're not as needy as they were at the beginning, they have an obligation to provide their spot to somebody else, so.
Yes, Director Thomas, I have a draft application that has already been circulated to staff for review, and there's a series of things that they're acknowledging with their signature, and just the things that you said are all included on there. They also acknowledge that this is not a guaranteed program and that the board can at any time make a modification or termination of the program, and this is not a guaranteed benefit.
Okay, and then finally, in what substantial way is this proposed program different than the one that was in place and then ultimately abandoned several years ago?
In terms of the wastewater rate assistance program, some of the major differences were that was a $15 per month or $30 per bill, so we're actually the same level of assistance for wastewater then and now. The funding is the main difference. Right. Director Underhill and staff and consultants came together to put on a golf tournament and support a golf tournament. That was the main or only funding source other than an invitation for customers or community members to make donations. That didn't prove to be very successful with the donations from staff and community members, but the golf tournament did produce enough money to help a small number of customers with their wastewater bills. The issue was that was an extreme amount of work from Director Underhill and a lot of burden on staff to support that and put it on, and you had to depend on consultants and their generosity and others to fund that. This is a guaranteed source of funding from our budget process using non-rate revenue, and this is also a higher amount that we would be putting toward it. Also, we're including water and wastewater as opposed to just wastewater. So we have a few differences this time around.
Okay.
But that's not to say we won't have a golf tournament.
Well, and yeah, that brings up a good point. Should we have folks in the private industry that want to donate or provide money to this program? How will we manage that within the budget? Does that mean that we reduce CCWD's contribution to that by replacing it with donated monies? Or do we take that donated monies in addition to our 60,000 to increase that, to then potentially increase the number of?
What does it say in our final draft on funding? How is it worded?
We actually became more broad and just said non-rate revenue, so that is an umbrella that covers all kinds of different revenues. Community donations would be under that umbrella,
Okay.
but I would defer to Jeff for how we might handle that with.
We have several options. The two that you kind of discussed, one is to reduce the district's contribution. One of the things that I like to do in budgeting is have predictable expenses and revenues. Right. So if we have the $60,000 moving forward, trying to identify non-rate revenue for that we can plug into the models moving forward. The additional revenues that we get can be used for, I don't want to say catastrophic events when it comes to an individual, but early on in this process, we did talk about if an individual has a medical emergency or some large emergency where they really need help to cover all bills. That's a potential that we can use to fund that particular program, but it would be limited in its ability. Just a few thoughts there.
Yeah, I like that idea, that thought of a catastrophic 100% coverage of a bill maybe or something.
Right, but that would be difficult to be able to factor into a budget process when we're looking for that. Maybe we could use these other funds for that.
Yeah, okay.
Jeff?
Yeah, I just have a couple things. One, I apologize for the last few meetings where this was being finalized, and I didn't have participate in those. But a couple questions. Why are we doing this in the middle of a budget year as opposed to postponing this date till we actually have a budget? I'm not aware that we have any funds available, any extra money available. But I know that there's a $30,000 transfer here. What if This is obviously a labor-intensive program, so the 30,000 doesn't represent the entirety of the program. Why aren't we, I mean, even January 1st seems like pretty fast to get this rolling. I assume you guys are prepared for it, but why was the decision made to do it as opposed to waiting till we had budget hearings and prioritized our budget?
I can add to that. We made a commitment as we were doing our public outreach during the rate increase that we were going to develop this program, and I believe David mentioned by the end of the year, we would have this program up and going.
I don't remember a date being associated with it, but.
Yeah, and maybe there wasn't a date associated with that, but I had really pushed to try to get this going as soon as possible. And this is back in, spring of last year, spring of this year to get it going. And so the board and staff, it had worked together to develop this program and get it going as soon as possible.
No, Joel, you can attest to this. The first few times you brought this program to us, I think you started off with the board directed staff in whatever month that was when we were doing the outreach to look at a program and
I'm just
get it.
asking about the start date.
Well, yeah, and get it to us by the end of the year in our get it, and that we could have on our agenda by the end of the year. My position on it is why have that push and then punt it for 6 months down the road when our
Well, because it's not a budgeted item.
and it's a $60,000 item out of an $18 million budget, and we make budget adjustments
I know,
all
but
the time.
I need field staff.
Right.
So
So
do you?
a lot of, yeah. Okay. Well, are there other needs? Sure.
Well,
Sure.
that's my
And we're-
point. I mean, that's what the whole budget.
But that might be
It's
the
like,
next-
listen, I support
next
this program.
agenda item.
I support this program. I doubt if I'm gonna support the funding in the next item, but just because I think that when things like this come up, programs come up, we went through budget hearings. We heard from staff. Certainly we heard from the public during the rate increase. I support this. I just would rather see it funded during the budget cycle. And, it's a 6-month delay. I want to see the real cost to this, because there is going to be, some dedicated staff time. It's not going to be, just 60,000. It's going to be more than that. It's going to be probably the equivalent of a full-time field employee. I'd like to see us do both, but we recognize that we have limited funds here, and, so those are my only comments. I just, the start date seems like it's fast, because it is December. We're going to enact this program. We're going to have a lot of legwork coming up here at the end of the year, and we'll be processing this.
Good time to interrupt.
Yeah, but anyway, that's, I'm supportive of it. I want to see it be successful. I just am curious about the timing.
So we can do whatever the board's pleasure is on start date. That's completely up to the board. I can tell you that I am ramped up and ready to go with Stacy Lawler and IT and others to get this done by the board's deadline that's been discussed by early January. And we can launch it at that time, and we can be successful with that. Or if it's the board pleasure, we can certainly wait until budget year. It's completely up to the board.
I'd like to see us move forward. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, I certainly want to advocate on behalf of our customers, of our, a lot of people are out of work, a lot of people need the help, and we are in a position where we can do it. And I understand, Jeff, that, this seems to be rushed, but we have talked about this customer assistance program for 2 years. And it's time to move, and I think they've done their due diligence, they've investigated everything, and I'm all in favor of making the budget adjustment.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this policy approving the customer assistance program with at least one modification, and that is that we will start this program on January 2nd versus January 1st, as we had presented to us today. I believe that was the only other significant change in the policy that's in front of us now.
The only other thing I would ask the board to give me direction on is we currently have a 2 lock-off policy. Only on the second lock-off would you be kicked off the program for a year. We wanted to make sure the board weighed in on that. We could also do, if you're locked off once after being added to this program, then you would be suspended for a year. The thinking on staff was there can be catastrophic events in people's lives that cause them to not be able to pay their bill. We intend for this program to help them pay their bill and not get to be locked off, so we wanted to give them that second lock off within the program year, within that 12-month period, and give them the one grace period. They could be locked off once, pay the bill, get it turned back on, and continue on the assistance program. But we wanted to be very clear and get clear board direction on that. So one lock off gets you kicked off versus two lock offs gets you kicked off the program.
So I would, the second potential in my action is to have the second lock-off would get you kicked off. And that way, like you say, if there is some catastrophic issue, that, you know, that can be dealt with. So, yeah.
Okay, and
Who's gonna,
I don't know if
who's
I'm
gonna
clear
oversee
enough.
that? Is that general manager's decision, or is that customer service, or who's gonna be the arbiter of catastrophic?
So if as the policy's written right now, it's the two lock-offs, and it doesn't matter why the person was locked off. It's just the second one. If you have it happen twice, then you're off the program. We wouldn't need to determine why the first lock-off occurred. They still would have the grace period no matter what.
Yeah, good.
And I second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion here? Comments, corrections? Any public comment?
Board and President Ratterman. First one is really picky, I know, but in the policy, the before resource connection is not capitalized, and it should be, because that is part of their name. The should be capitalized. Second, talking about lockoffs. That will work for water customers. That will not work for sewer customers. Sewer customers don't get locked off. So how would they become ineligible for non-payment? This just hit me. I'm sorry, Joel, I should have did that one before. And third, I still have a real problem with the same people in perpetuity, as long as they do their paperwork, staying on the program. When I got involved with this, my intent was to help as many different ones as possible. You may end up with somebody being on the program that is not as in dire straits as somebody that's been on the waiting list for umpteen years. And I think that needs to be addressed somewhere along the line. And that is about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that Vicki did say is about the lock-off, or how is that written? It might be, we might be better served to have that as a late payment or a non-payment, or so it would work for both sides. How is it written up?
Currently, the lock-off is the only way to be suspended, and to apply for the program, you must be in good standing, meaning that you're not locked off and that your account is in good standing. I think that Vicki does raise a good point in that if you're a sewer-only customer, you're not going to be locked off. You could be habitually delinquent, and you wouldn't be automatically kicked off the program. So if the board wishes, we could add a sentence that says either locked off twice or have a outstanding balance on a sewer account for 2 billion periods in a row or within the program year would also be qualification for suspension from the program. That way we could address both the sewer and the water customers.
I agree with that.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay. Any objection down here? No, that's, okay, it would address everybody then.
Does it require a change in the motion, or?
Would that require a change in the motion? Okay,
No, the motion stays the same. The resolution is not going to change. It's the policy that's being, we're approving the resolution and the policy. So with that change, but the motion still is to approve the resolution.
No, because the motion was changing the resolution doesn't talk about shit.
Yeah, the resolution.
so, yeah, I'd like to amend my motion then to include addressing the 2 payments in arrears for wastewater customers that would put them in the same category as 2 lockoffs for water.
I'll second that. So we have to vote on the amendment.
Any public, does it go to public again?
No. Okay, so in your mind, we got 2 votes here? One for the amended?
I know I'm the legal expert here, but we do.
Well, I know, but you're giving me advice or a suggestion. Do we have just 1 vote here on the resolution?
I amended my original,
Motion. Okay.
Only
So
this-
so we have a motion, or
To amend the resolution.
we have a motion to approve the amended resolution
correct.
And a
and
second.
a second, and we've heard public comment. Rebecca, can you please take roll?
Director Strange,
Proudly, yes.
Director Davidson,
Yes.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
President Ryder.
Yes.
Thank you, fellow board members. That means a lot.
Thank
Good
you,
work, Terry.
thank you, Terry, for keeping on that.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joel. Thank you, staff. Thank you, Jeff.
I didn't get a thanks.
Thank you, Bertha. Thank you, Bertha.
Bertha, you have been very instrumental in supporting this and even, your own ideas. It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky, for the final note. Okay, we're moving on to 4B, discussion action regarding amending the fiscal year 2018-19 budget for the Customer Assistance Program. Jeff Meyer.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board. This is for funding for the remainder of fiscal year 18-19, as Joel alluded to, the $30,000 figure. The funds is a one-time transfer from the special project fund that will go into the operating budget in the amount of $30,000. This does not provide funding in future years. One of the things I want to make sure that the board is aware of, the special project fund will not be able to do ongoing funding for this particular program, because that's not what the special project fund is designed for. It's for grant matches, projects, special projects, equipment purchases, and so forth. So we will have to identify other non-rate revenue for future years. But that being said, staff recommends your board approve budget amendment, budget adjustment 1902 attached as part of the resolution, and directing the interim general manager to record the appropriate accounting entries.
Okay, it's pretty clear. Any discussion on this item? It's an action item.
Okay, Terry?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we accept this resolution amending the 2018-19 operating budget for the Customer Assistance Program.
And I second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion here? Any public comment? Rebecca, will you take roll?
Director Strange,
Yes.
Director Davidson,
No.
Director Thomas,
Yes.
Director Underhill,
Yes.
President Ryder.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, item 4C, discussion action regarding resolution of appreciation to Director Strange for his service as CCWD Board Director. We have a resolution to read that I'll be honored.
Do we need a motion before that?
You know what, that
I'd like to make
probably,
a motion
that,
that
yeah,
we adopt the resolution of appreciation for Director Strange for his service as CCWD Board
Do you
Director.
want to handle the rest of this meeting?
It's always next year.
We got a motion.
I would gladly second that motion.
Okay. Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any public comment?
Go ahead, Reed.
You know what, let's take public comment after we've, well, I guess we do have to take public comment, and then we'll have an opportunity for public comment afterwards when we know what the resolution is.
Read it.
Okay.
Yeah, read it.
Okay, a resolution number 2018-66, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Calaveras County Water District in appreciation of Terrence Strange, CCWD Board Director, District 2. Whereas Terry Strange has served on the Calaveras County Water District Board from 2014 to 2018, and in doing so aptly represented the citizens of Calaveras County and its constituents in District 2. And whereas Director Strange has been an asset to the district by readily sharing his in-depth knowledge of water with the board and the public, and whereas Director Strange consistently focused his efforts on making decisions that were in the best interest for his constituents and the county as a whole, and he worked tirelessly to address the needs of the low-income members of his community. That's going to stand out in this one, Terry.
Thank you.
Whereas Director Strange has always been interested in cost-saving measures, so needing no amplification, he has saved CCWD several dollars by not having to power up his microphone for the four other board members. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Directors of Calaveras County Water District that the district commends Terry Strange for the time and energy he has extended in performing his public service as a member of the board, and by this resolution to make a lasting record of the perseverance with which he has carried out his duties. And the rest of it is passed and adopted this 15th day. This 5th day of December. I'm going to assume that we're going to pass this. We're going to take a vote here in a second, but congratulations, Terry. Well, let's take the vote first.
Yeah.
Rebecca, can you do roll, please?
I probably ought to recuse myself. No, yes.
Director Davidson?
Yes.
Director Thomas?
Yes,
Director Underhill?
Yes.
President Ryan?
Yes.
it's official.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You've been great serving with you.
Thank you. Yes, appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Bertha. Appreciate your support.
Instead of taking a break, we've decided just to continue the rest of the meeting, get done with the meeting, and then we're going to have a little celebration for Terry. But it would be appropriate at this time if anyone would like to have any words, kind words for Terry. Please come to the microphone. Thank you.
You're prefacing what we can say?
Yeah, only kind words.
I would simply say to Mr. Strange, as a former director, I appreciated the depth of knowledge that you brought to the position and for your willingness to step into all of the matters of the district and provide your input when I think was at times very critical to have. And you didn't take the job lightly. And I want to congratulate you on finishing the course.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Dennis.
Director Strange, I am so going to miss you and your sense of humor, your dedication to your constituents and the county, the low-income people of the county as a whole, and especially your desire to keep things local whenever possible. Thank you for your service. And think of us often when you're out there fly fishing, okay?
Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you, Vicki.
Director Strange, I would love to thank you for everything you've done for Calaveras County, especially for what you care about. I would say, getting to know you, you have the heart as deep as the sea. You really care about the people in this county. You care about the disadvantaged people. you care about the water, the quality of the water, you're a water wonk. You will be sorely missed, and I am just so proud of the fact that you were here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. I'd like to say a couple words. It has been a pleasure working with you, Terry, and your knowledge of water. Being on this board, there's not a whole lot of us that have been in the water world and working as much, and so you have brought a lot of knowledge to the dais during your time here, and you are passionate in your beliefs and kind of, as I say, strong-headed to strong-minded, but definitely passionate and knowing where you want to go. And it's been a pleasure serving with you.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay. I'll go. I'll go because I'm thinking back to when the three amigos ran for the board. And first Dennis
I called him
goes-
something different.
I think they called themselves something different.
And how we all came together and just blew this board apart, Terry. And Dennis. And I thank you so much for holding up the end of the dais. And, the intelligence is unbelievable or not, your intelligence is outstanding, Terry, what you know about the subjects, any subject, you name it, Terry knows. And we really appreciate that and enjoyed working with you and hope to see you. We now know where you are, so we'll be at you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you,
Martha.
Terry.
Terry, we've had a chance to talk recently, and you know how I feel about you leaving. I'm really disappointed. I only had a chance to work with you for 2 years. You're a class act, and I'm gonna, along with the other board members, I'm sure we'll miss your input, your abilities, your knowledge. So I just hate to see you go.
Thank you, Russ.
Yeah, Terry, I also want to echo the statements. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the 4 years that we got to sit next to each other here together. I think that, I think you're like many board members that come to this district. It takes a while to actually really understand the struggles of our budget. Your position on trying to help those in need is, certainly warrants appreciation, and I certainly respect that. It was particularly great working with you after a short period of time where, and it's true of all the board members that come here, there's a learning curve here, and you're not going to do anything by yourself. And I just think that you really think about the animosity of when the three amigos came to this board, and then within a very, very short time, after being educated by staff and others, how, and I give it to all the people that are here today credit for recognizing that, we are working as a whole for the community, and it's not just about rates, it's protecting water rights. I mean, people just think it's just about water and bringing water to customers or sewer service, taking the sewer away from them. This is a difficult job, and our staff does a tremendous job, and I appreciate what they've done to bring a group, and I'm sure that'll happen of the next board member that comes. Everybody has grand ideas, and then all of a sudden you realize the complexity of this district, and you brought so much expertise, already knowing much about that complexity. I learned a lot from you, and I thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Thank you all, board members. I appreciate that. I think that, and also, I don't think that we needed to put the flags at half-mast just because I'm leaving today. No, in all seriousness, though, yeah, it's been interesting. I had a commitment to my constituents, and I feel like I've succeeded in that, and considering especially their economic challenges that they go through. And I think that anyone holding public office like this, that, that's, in my mind, first and foremost, is your constituents and their best interests. And that's not always easy when you mix the entire county that are so diverse and so varied, economically, geographically, and even watershed-wise. But I try to do my best, for sure. And it's been a quick 4 years. I always had anticipated only a 4-year position because I feel like, as I've mentioned before, that each and every one of us owes that to our community. You know, some sort of in this case, elected official, you know, giving back to your community and trying to make it better for the long term. And so not only that, but also as you'd mentioned, the local aspects of stuff I think is really important, that we always keep that in mind to help, you know, support, because it all comes around. But I will miss my fellow directors. We've had a great time. I think, as you mentioned, Jeff, the staff is outstanding, and I really applaud them. Good luck with, you know, the new general manager. I mean, when I started, we had a new general manager, and now I'm leaving. We'll, you know, soon have a new general manager. So that, you know, good luck with that. I think we've come a long way. And in the 4 years that I've been here, I can say that my impression is that certainly CCWD has improved a lot in relationship to how we're viewed by our community and respected. So that's good. I hope to continue to be involved at CCWD at least some level. Certainly in the county anyway, as it relates to water and water management challenges. And so, yeah, I hope that I'll see you all on a regular basis, at least semi-regular. But again, thank you for your time. Thank you for today, and good luck moving forward.
Great. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
Anyone else in the room have anything else to add? Okay. We're going to move on with our agenda. Like I said, we're going to finish our agenda. We have a little bit of cake and cookies, celebrate Terry's last day here. Our general.
Can we turn off his microphone now?
Turn off? No.
Doesn't do any good.
He ain't going to hide over
The
there.
flags at half-staff in memoriam of my hearing in my right ear.
Okay, item, it says item 4, but I know it should be item 5 on our agenda is general manager report.
I have nothing that can't be deferred until next meeting, so nothing today.
Okay, good for you. Item 6 on our agenda is board reports. Terry, let's start with you. What do you got to report?
Not much. Just working on the customer assistance program. And also what's interesting is at the state level, you know, there's money available for different DAC communities and all. I shared with the Keystone IRWM our program that we're currently considering and have now adopted, the customer assistance program. And because of the limited funding that the state is providing throughout all of our IRWMs within this region, my suggestion was that they consider using those funds to develop kind of within the Keystone IRWM, a similar customer assistance program, or at least, you know, investigate and see what might be a good fit for them. And they've agreed to do so. So, yeah,
Wonderful.
That's great. And that'd primarily be, you know, with the water agencies over in Tuolumne County. So, other than that, again, I've enjoyed my time. I know Cindy will do an excellent job, and I've worked with Cindy at the T-Stand IRWM. She's very capable and has a lot of energy. She's a very intelligent, outstanding individual, and so I leave you in good hands.
All right, thank you. Jeff.
I have nothing to report.
Bertha.
Oh, well, for you Flatlanders, we got over a foot of snow yesterday, and it's been, as a matter of fact, we even had a snow shower this morning. So it's cold up there, 20 degrees, and it's coming. So we're very happy.
Better late than never.
It's a good storage program you got going up there. Russ.
I just want to report that I attended the Aqua meeting in San Diego, which was very enjoyable from a lot of standpoints. It's always a very quick education when you go down there and try to attend as many sessions as you can. It was particularly enjoyable to observe David Egerton as he was trying to get immersed in his new responsibilities there as the executive director of Aqua. I think he's demonstrated that he's going to be very capable of taking over that position. Tim Quinn's kickout festivities, or the dinner that they had for him, was on board the aircraft carrier Midway, which was
That was
very,
great,
very
yes.
interesting, and they even had some flight simulators that you could get into and fly electronically. The things would turn over and over. You could actually. I'm a pilot, so it was really pretty interesting to see the heads-up view, and you are banking around. I don't know, that was one of the high points of the trip. Our district was very well represented by Joel and Peter and Jeff. It's pretty gratifying to go to those meetings and realize that our district is widely known and widely respected, and it was kind of fun to feign my anger and being upset about the Aqua stealing away our general manager. And who do we blame for this? But anyway, all in all, it's always a good thing, I think, for directors to go to that type of a meeting. You come away with a lot more information than you went with. And Joel and I went to the desalinization plant tour on Friday on my way home. And that was very interesting too. Gosh, they have $1 billion plant, and they're getting the market rate for an acre foot of water is what was it, Joel? 2,500. 1,200. Oh, it was 2,500, but then that's their rate for their commitment as far as their volume that they have to produce. Anything above that, I think it cuts in half. It goes to $12.50 per acre foot. So I think we should renegotiate our contract with the irrigators and stuff. So. But it is quite commendable that they have made that investment down there, and their client base is all over it. They're supporting it in a big way. So anyway, that's all I have to report.
And I do agree with Russ that the Aqua Conference does provide an educational, and a massive education all at one time. There's so much things you can learn and get caught up on. And I wasn't able to make it this year, but in future years, a good thing to go to. We do have a Finance Committee meeting on the 18th, 11 a.m. Here in this room. And the following day, on the December 19th, we have a camera meeting at 2:30, also here in this room. And our Board of Supervisors coordination meeting will be on Monday, December 17th. I'm thinking, yes? Okay. Also, that same that completes my report. Our next board meetings are Wednesday, December 12th, our regular board meeting here in this room, and then we're going to have a Monday, the 17th. We have a special board meeting that will be off-site, and that'll be a closed session for interviews for the general manager position. More information will be coming to each of us as it's gained and where we're going to be meeting. And what time. Or it already says 1 p.m. Okay, so we're meeting at 1 p.m. on that day. We already did our closed action, reportable action. Okay, we're adjourned. Oh, no, before we adjourn, Director Thomas has some important
very important.
information.
Jeff, did you want to say anything about our engineering committee meeting yesterday? And
Feel free if you want.
Okay.
Give a report.
Yeah, we did have a meeting of the engineering committee, and we took up again continuing discussion about the fire flow requirements and what we're going to do to work through the little bit of a bottleneck that has been brought to our attention by the builders in the county about the 5/8 meters not being adequate to take care of the fire flows for the sprinklers, the fire protection sprinklers. So I think we're making progress on that. We kind of, and to coin a phrase, we held staff's feet to the fire and said that they need to keep working on this and come back to the next meeting with some proposals in hand. So
Good thing you didn't say beat a dead horse.
no, no, I don't believe that one. But
Or bring home bacon, or any of
it's-
those non-things you're.
it's very, it's enjoyable to me to go to the meetings with, Jeff has a great knowledge of the district and construction business, and I have less knowledge about the district, but a fair amount of knowledge about the construction business. So I think we have a commitment to help our builders and to just comply with their wishes to give them some assistance. So I'm sorry about the interruption. That's it. I'm
You done now, for sure?
I am done, for sure.
Okay. All right, that concludes our meeting. We're adjourned, and please hang around to enjoy some refreshments and treats with Terry.
Terry's got to cut the cake.
Terry's got to cut the cake. Thank you.